welcome to the Wealth Transfer. Global economics, biblical principles, and protecting and preserving your family's wealth. I am Terry Sacka, Chief Strategist, and I'm along with Dr. Charles Vance.
Terry, good to see you today.
We need to do some surgery, Doctor.
You know, we need to try to do some surgery on the economy. We're trying to inform people.
Yes.
We need to tell people real quickly who you are in case they're new to the show.
Well, I am just a chief strategist. I have multiple financial licenses and accredited asset management specialist. We are actually manufacturers and refiners of the finest, purest, hallmarked, Colmex, good delivery, Judeo-Christian silver in the country. We do help people with their retirements and asset protection. I'm an avid studier of the global economy, as well as I love the Bible, studying the Greek and Hebrew. So that's where I think Charles and I get such a kick, because he's in business and as well as being a pastor, and so we really get to have some good conversation.
Yes, we do. I've written several books and am a conference speaker and a pastor for several years now, and a business owner. I like to consider myself a king and a priest unto God, which is people that watch the financial things, govern natural things, and govern supernatural things as well. So anyway, we're just glad that you're along. I'm honored to be connected up with Terry, because he keeps up on everything. I mean, he knows what's going on. He's like the important part of the newspaper or news reviews, for sure.
You know, my mom always says, it's really kind of funny, she's like, how do you remember that stuff? And I said, you know, I've been blessed with memory, almost photographic sometimes, that I just do. I read a lot, and I think if anything, I can read or have 10 documents on my desk. Some reason, not that it's actually like this, but it's similar. One or two documents kind of almost stand above the others. And it's just my way of knowing how to discern and read between the lines on what information is right to read and not.
That's good.
It's interesting, because I've been able to kind of find my way through all of the swampy lies.
Someone said it's easy to learn what you want to know. It's easy to remember what you want to know.
I love that statement, because I think the biggest problem we have is people are learning, they want to know things, but they're learning from the wrong sources. And so they get all excited, they get all puffed up, but they don't know anything. I had a financial advisor try anyway, bless his heart, to show me up. And then he looked silly in the end. He just did, because he doesn't know the truth. He just knows what he's been told. And it's not of this world. If you try to it is of this world, but not of God.
If you try to make a contest with things that you've heard someone else say, it'll always end up collapsing out from under you. You have to know things firsthand. You need to know information. You need to know truth. And then operate
and I
that
think
truth. That's life-changing.
It is. And where it comes from me, I think, and the reason why we present such amazing data, it's not that we speak on opinion. We speak on actual deep research, analytical research data, investigative research data, and it's truthful stuff.
Sure.
The media, the corporate, the governments, they're starting, they spin things too much. That's what you always hear, here's the spin.
Yeah.
It's because they take a truth and they weave it up into a lot of falseness, and we wonder why we're so confused.
Well, a lot of times the news wants something to be sensational, and sometimes data in and of itself, is not extremely sensational. But it can create some sensational results in people's lives if it's used properly.
You know what? Let's go right here. Let me do this. Let's pick up, because we left off about unemployment, right? And we were talking about this cycle, this wave. Unfortunately, it's been going on since we got off the gold standard, and we can't do anything about it. We are going to what I call roll over. Right in this time in history, I don't see one single thing that allows us to prosper beyond this rollover, because the petrodollar is going away, which gave America its prosperity. The East and China, Russia, India, South Africa, the BRICS are rising, and they're strong. We're losing the Middle East in our relationships there. So we're rolling over for sure. We just don't know the extreme of it. All I know is during that extreme, or the perception of the extreme is coming, we better get ourselves protected and preserved.
Absolutely.
So, and this image here that we have, this is known as civilian labor force participation rate for women. Now, in the 50s, when we started having an increase in women working, 60s, 70s.
Let me correct you. Women working outside of the home.
Yes, outside. Yes,
Yeah.
outside. Oh,
Okay.
well, believe me, they're working in the home.
Yeah,
all right.
we've gotten a lot of trouble over that. Over the
We're
years,
still working.
Make it correct.
Man, I tell you what,
You've got a couple
it's
young,
almost harder to
young children.
Tell you what, it's
new
harder to stay at home and take care of children than it is to go to a job. I tell you what.
Most women that are at-home moms will contend. Definitely,
yeah, boy,
definitely.
you better love your wife if you're raising children, because I can tell you what, that's a lot harder than probably what you're doing. Now, this has been it's unfortunate, but in the 80s, when we kind of started coming off this cycle, we peaked up through 2000. Now, as this chart is showing, you're seeing a peak here, and the peak is 2000. Now, that was 9/11. Once 9/11 happened and we took our financial towers down, it went at the core and the heart of the financial system. It worked. People don't understand how victorious 9/11 attacks were. It wasn't just killing of people and taking down the buildings. It worked because it took down the financial system. It allowed us to go to war, and I say it that way on purpose. It allowed us to go to war and spend money. Trillions and trillions of dollars to go to war. So war, as we showed you in the Keynesian economic model, allows the creation of currency. Because going to war, we had to have all these products and guns and things for the troops, and it stimulates economy. It allows the government to spend money. 9/11, though, is when it all kind of started going downhill. And on that chart that I was showing you with women, their unemployment was rising since the 50s. Outside the home, they were working. Since 2000, it's been declining. Not only is it declining since 2000, it's now at the very level of just mid-1980s. So women in the workforce are the lowest in participation since the mid-1980s. Now that should really shock people. And so many women vote for the wrong side of the political spectrum because they vote for other reasons. They really should take this seriously. If you're real big about working and you want a stable financial future, people vote for security, financial future for the children. They have the demographics on why men and women vote. But I just got to tell you, you might want to think real hard this time where you're casting your vote, because one side's taking us down the wrong hole, and the other side, if we're lucky, will stimulate entrepreneurship and the ability for us to go to work. So let's get serious here on this next cycle of elections if we can. Now, that one is women in participation, and unfortunately, back to the 1980s, as I said. This next one here is the civilian labor force participation rate for ages 25 to 54. And this one is a core working career years. Ages 25 to 54 is considered the core time frame for work. That, unfortunately, has gone back to 1980 levels. So now, we're not only not working the same, we are 35 years backwards on the participation of employment. And they're telling you everything's okay, and you think it's 5% unemployment? It's a flat-out dishonest lie, I'm just telling you. Participation of the core working years, 25 to 54, and look where we're at, back to 1980 levels. So whatever is coming because it's rolling over. This has been doing this now for a while, decades, and we've kind of been surviving because they were printing money and we're getting these booms and bust cycles. But it's over because it's skyrocketed straight up. And typically, as I used to play with rockets as a kid, we stick engines in them and blow them up in the air and parachute down. What goes up will come down. And that's our dollar and our financial system. It's just a matter of how heavy and what the fallout is, but you better be protected. You're the ones working for those assets and IRAs and retirement accounts. The best investment is in education. So get started, and this is a good way to do it.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now remember, those in revelation of the shed blood of Jesus Christ that stay in Him, wisdom and truth will find its way.
Wisdom is the ability to use knowledge, and there's a lot of folks that have knowledge, but they don't have the ability to use it. Because of that, it creates a great danger for them. Just to storehouse knowledge, to just store it up, is of no value. There's all kinds of people, I've met all kinds of people that could just rattle off information, but to be able to put it to work and to use it in your life is so important. And that's what this program is about, is you learning what's going on financially in the world, how it affects you, and what you need to do so that your future can be brighter and better. We have the ability to do that, Terry, with what we have right now, what's within our grasp, because we're not under the bridge yet. I mean, we've not been thrown to the curb.
No, and you know, they're definitely working there, but like I'm trying to say is, that's why this is staying here. You know, those in revelation of Jesus Christ, that ability to get the right information will allow us, when this whole thing goes out, allow us to prosper through it. Remember, even in the worst times, greatest opportunities are made. Now, the reason this is important...
You just mentioned that, and I hope most people know this that's watching this program, but there was some extraordinary wealth that was transferred during the Great Depression.
Yes.
I mean, obviously people that were doing a lot of things that people are doing nowadays, thinking, well, if we've got the money to go to the movies, let's just go to the movies. If we've got money to buy this, buy that, and they're keeping the system operating by just throwing more money into the system, borrowing more money.
Right.
But there were people that were very smart, very wise, that was getting themselves set for that wealth transfer. There were millionaires that were made. Most people don't know that during the Great Depression.
That's what I'm trying to get people to see here, because all the data says so. If they knew what was going on in the silver market and the manipulation, if they knew putting their assets into the real constitutional money, as silver is, where that's going, because it will be very valuable in the future and allow us in the kingdom to prosper through that.
You say it like this: when it collapses, when the monetary system collapses, it's got to do something. It can't keep going forever because it's all fake. When it does, if people have the right investment, that's going to be setting yourself in the right position so that you're going to have wealth in your hand.
Charles,
if you have currency, you're not going to have wealth if this collapses, or when it collapses.
It doesn't even have to collapse. Let's say it just loses substantial value. It's going to. When that does, this will go back to the high again.
Sure, because it's always had the same trade value.
Yes.
People don't understand this.
This is huge to understand, though.
If this still trades, you said this last week, I believe, that this still trades, if you cash this in today, 1 ounce of silver, cash this in, $16, something like that, when we're taping this program.
16, 17 with premiums, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So cash this in. How much gasoline can you buy with that? It's a couple bucks a gallon now, somewhere around.
Almost 9, 6,
How much can you buy with $1?
Half a gallon.
Okay. Back, you said, when this was equal, when you could trade actually this, when this was supposed to be in the bank so that on demand you could go and get your silver out.
Right.
This was equal. But now this keeps deteriorating in value because he keeps printing so much of it. This stays the same.
Stays the same.
Still has the ability to trade.
Right.
Still have the ability to buy with it, but this keeps going down.
Yep.
And what people are going, and listen, it's like boiling a frog to death. He doesn't realize it when you start the water and it's cool, and he ends up dying after a while because it just gradually happens.
And they've been doing that to us.
That's what is happening with this. This is gradually moving. You're believing that there's actually going to be a big thump in this, a big
That's
jump
a great
downward.
way of putting it, because I think it's going to lose significant value, and I think it is a thump. But when that happens, though, the price of silver today will go back to the high.
Sure.
At least, I think a lot more, but let's just say the high. When it goes just back to the high, do you know that's a 200% return? 200%. So for someone's IRA, that's $100,000, and it goes back to the highest worth $300,000.
Well, wasn't this
That's huge.
2 or 3 years ago? Wasn't this up to 50 or
Yes,
close to 50?
and it's going back there. It's been manipulated down,
So this would
but it
be
will
like,
go back.
This would be like 4 or 5 times, five times more. It would increase 5 times if it went to 50 again.
Well, it's
correct?
16
45.
now, so 14 now. So let's just say even at 16.
Let's say at 15, double would be 30.
Double again, 45.
Triple would be 45.
Right.
So 3 times more.
Yeah.
So if you had $100,000 of this that you purchase in an IRA today and it goes back to 45, just for even
Unbelievable.
you're 3 times the amount of money.
But the point is, it's a protection and preservation.
Exactly, and that's
So-
what people need to understand.
Yeah, because this is a world of what we did is, when we were explaining this, we've entered an area of what we call financialization. Remember when the 60s, when we got off of real earned production, small business, we were producing people. We entered an era known as financialization. Financialization really just meant we developed credit cards and banking and things of that nature. A great businessman once said, J.C. Penney, we all know the store. He said that when they introduced credit cards to a J.C. Penney credit card to his customers, the board, he said, I'm not going for it. Because if my people that shop at my store cannot afford to buy something, they shouldn't be buying it. What a great statement of management of wealth. That's where America went wrong. When we started buying things that we couldn't afford, that's how the banks had us. So this was known as the era of financialization since the gold standard came off. It's unfortunately, as we showed you the cycle of employment, we cycle of everything, we're rolling over. So I want you to look at this next chart here. It's called peak financialization and speculative debt boom. On the left side there, where you see the little red and purple line down there in the bottom, that was 1970 when we came off of the gold standard, and large-scale entry of women and baby boomers into the labor force began in the 60s to the early 70s. It was a real big boom. Unfortunately, at the top there, where you see the black line rolling over, that is the end, the peak moment of financialization. We're done. We've rolled over. That was, by the way, 9/11, 2000. So the automation started eating into middle-class jobs, and we all know where that's going, right? Where that red line is there, in about 2009, one of the reasons that that thing happened in 2008-9, it would happen to be the Shemitah year too, by the way, was because automation kicked in. Now diminishing returns on the financialization wave since the 70s took effect, and that's why you see that line collapsing on the right. Now you can take that off.
Now, you're saying the automation kicked in and what, took jobs?
Yes.
Okay.
And we all know that. Now, I'm
Sure.
from Detroit originally, and we had, I was supposed to be a third-generation automotive worker. Most automobile stuff today is done through automation. Robots, see? And so you have companies now trying to create robots. Most things now are made by machinery and robots that were done by hand. So we're not going back. This is the sad part to grip. We're never going back. We can't. So something's going to happen. It's almost like we're going the route of Mexico, where you're going to have those who are rich up here and have something, and everyone else will have nothing. It's just tragic for America. It's not who we are. We're entrepreneurs. We're self-starters. Middle class was who we were. I was middle class all my life. But the thing is, I don't really see that, because the population in the data says otherwise. I really don't see we're going back. So what does that mean? For those that still have assets, IRAs, 401ks for the future, those that are working and saving for the future, you better be saving in the right tangible asset, because you're going to see this nation go into a massive rollover and something new is coming out of it. So the most important thing is to be educated so you understand how to do it, and this is a good place to get started.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now,
I want to mention to people, real quick before I forget about this, because I just watched the commercial, the promo for the Cornerstone Asset Metals. Your website, when people look for the archive TV programs, they're almost buried right now. And I know you guys are working on a new website,
yeah,
but they're up on the very top. They're kind of in a gray, but you can watch these programs on demand. You should go back. If you're new to the program, you should go back and catch up on some. They're
it's called the Wealth Transfer Archive.
Wealth Transfer Archives, and it's right on the top of CornerstoneAssetMetals.com website. On the top, it's over toward the right-hand side.
It's a library there.
Yeah, so check it out. It's there. Those things are there. Those programs are there by topics, aren't they?
Yes.
And the dates that they originally aired,
yeah, by topics,
or the week
right,
that they aired. So check them out. I know it'll be just a great education, a blessing for you to see them.
Yeah, and that's good, Charles, because it's hard. This stuff's hard to grab, and I think you need to kind of see it over and over in order to really truly understand that what we're saying is true. And so, as we're talking about this massive rollover, unfortunately, it's just going to happen. And another piece of proof that I want people to see, and the reason I want them to understand this, we in the body of Christ don't have to roll over. We in the body of Christ don't have to go poor. We in the body of Christ don't have to maintain middle-class status or poor status. We could be rich.
Sure.
And so I'm thinking if we're in the right asset, well, I know if we're in the right asset when this happens, we will maintain wealth. So we have to be very cautious on the status quo. Continue to do what everyone always has done. So let's look at this next image here. This is just kind of a brief little view of what I mean. This is the federal funds rate, basic interest rates, ever since we came off the gold standard. And this is by president. And so basically the peak in the middle there, when it's so high, those were the high interest rates of Jimmy Carter. We all know what happened, 19, 21% interest rates, right? But the point is not about the presidents and what they're doing. The point is it's always gone down and down and down to the right.
Now, people need to be aware that it's not the president that does that.
No, it's the Federal Reserve.
It's the Federal Reserve banking system.
Right. But this is the time frame of these presidents and what happened. Now,
sure.
If you notice, they could never raise interest rates as high each president. It kept going lower and lower and lower. Why was that? Because high interest rates didn't allow them to continue to print money because they couldn't afford the interest on the debt they were paying.
Here, let's make sure people understand this. The Federal Reserve banking system is an independent group of people that have established this banking system.
Yes.
However, the federal government makes laws to govern them.
Yes.
And the federal government actually gets paid to print currency.
Yes.
They hire the federal government. That's why this is so confusing to most people. They hire the federal government to print the currency for them. They pay them to do that. Now, they loan them, the Federal Reserve Bank loans the government money.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, if someone else made the laws that governed this banking system, other than the people that needed the money,
right,
the laws would probably be different. So if the interest rate goes up extremely high from the Federal Reserve guys that loan them the money,
right,
it'll put them out of business. But if they keep loaning them money and lowering the interest rates, then the government can borrow more and more fake money.
But see, here's the problem. Exactly right. But here's the problem. Every president in the last 40 years has had no choice but to have lower rates. To the point on the right side, the current President Obama has had zero interest rates, because he can't raise them. Now, they did a little bit. It was fake. So that's why we know, and I bring this up because, Charles, we know it's reckoning.
Right.
This is the point here.
Some people wonder what's the advantage if there's zero, what's the advantage to the bank if there's zero interest? They get to print more money.
Yes.
And that makes them, as bankers, wealthier.
And they're trying to get people to stimulate the economy.
Sure.
But the thing is, the game's over. We cannot raise interest rates anymore to a low height because they can't finance the debt, you see. So this is important to understand, and in a good way. Let's look at a good way, for instance. Here's another chart known as the average Taylor rule less the actual interest rate. And I will get into it, but I just want to illustrate that on the left is current President Obama. He's the highest, meaning It's the worst money managed situation we've had. On the right is Ronald Reagan. He is the best money manager we had in the last 40 years.
Without doubt.
Yes, and so that's just merely to illustrate that point, because we need to understand, next week we're going to get into more about the Chinese and the Belgians and the people who own our debt and what they're doing. So this is really important because our game is kind of up here. And so you just want to see how interest rates and presidents and how we're going to do it. We're almost done. It's over. So just understand that because it's over, something else is coming, right? And what is that something? So next week we're going to get into talking about Chinese, Belgian, people that are actually buying our bonds and buying our treasuries. They're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. We're going to outline in detail how they're dumping away from the American dollar and why it's going to impact our future, our IRAs and retirement. So continue to get knowledge. God bless you, and we'll see you again.
Just remember that you can watch these programs on demand at cornerstoneassetmetals.com at your leisure 24/7 by going to that website. Remember, those archives are up in the top right-hand corner of the website. We're going to be back next week, same place, same time, right here on this station. Tell somebody about the broadcast. For Terry Sacka, I'm Charles Vance. We'll see you next week for the Wealth Transfer.
Cornerstone Asset Metals has focused on using gold and silver reserves to protect your assets from volatile currencies. Another hard asset that is just as important for your sustainability is food. We believe that preparation is a key to being successful in an unstable economic environment, so we started CAM Ready Food just for you. The Bible tells us that Joseph used the resources of Egypt to prepare for a global famine by storing up food in a time of plenty. His preparation not only preserved the lives of his family, but many others as well. At Cornerstone, we believe the time is now to re-examine this biblical lesson so that you and your family can be prepared for any disaster, job loss, food shortage, or economic instability. You can start preparing today by visiting our website, camreadyfood.com, because food truly is the ultimate currency. Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.